once again, Internet, my name's Nicole, and today I want to have a discussion with you about separating the art from the artist, or the author from the book. This discussion arises because of a couple things. Number one, because of the Hugo Awards controversy that's been going on, and also because I mentioned in my book Betrayal Tag that Marion Zimmer Bradley is a terrible person, but I like her books anyway. And so this is kind of one of those things that comes up in those discussions and that people ask me, is about how do you separate the art from the artist or the author from their book, and do you have trouble with this, and so on and so forth. I guess I'll start out by saying that I feel a little bit awkward in having this conversation because I personally, if separating the art from the artist is a spectrum, I personally am very far on the yes, I am able to separate the art from the artist end of things, like very far. I recognize that authors are people, and that some of them are horrible people, and there's not much I can do about that, and they can produce books that I still really enjoy. At the same time, I wouldn't want to make anyone who can't make that distinction or who has difficulty with that feel uncomfortable, because I realize that this is kind of a question that everybody has to deal with themselves and sort of answer for themselves what makes them uncomfortable and what doesn't make you uncomfortable. So while I'm pretty capable of separating the art and the artist within a certain spectrum of conditions that I'm going to talk about, I understand that not everybody is willing to do that or able to do that, and I wouldn't want to put pressure on people to be as clinical about it, I guess, as I am. I understand that not everybody can be that way, and that's okay. We can all have different opinions. So there are a couple of different points within this topic that I think it would be good to discuss. So the first thing is the difference between someone who's actually quite terrible and someone who has different opinions from me, and maybe an author who is not good at interacting with fans. Starting with the last one first, this is authors who don't interact well with fans or who might come off as dicks in, the real world. This is something that comes up a lot more now with social media and with so many authors having presence online. And to me, I find this doesn't matter that much if I know a author is regarded as someone who's very abrasive and not someone you really want to speak to. I just don't speak to them. I don't follow them on Twitter. I just kind of ignore them in those areas and try and have that in my mind, but not let it affect my enjoyment of the book. There are, especially within science fiction and fantasy, there are a couple of authors who are kind of well known for being very abrasive and unpleasant in person, and so I like to know that information and I like to know who those people are, but then I kind of more so make it a point to just never meet them or never to interact with them directly, because I feel like I would rather just enjoy their work and accept that they might not be the nicest person, but that I don't actually have to interact with them. Kind of the next step up from that is people who express differing opinions from me. If the person just expresses those opinions online or in person, I will kind of lump them in with the first group of people where I just kind of avoid direct interaction with them. Where I start to draw the line is if that person donates money to causes I don't support. The example of this being Orson Scott Card, who gives money to charities that are anti-gay, basically, and I wouldn't want to support those charities myself. As such, I don't really feel compelled to support Orson Scott Card with money, so if I am going to read his books, I'm more likely to buy them used. I realize that many people have a different opinion on this point, seeing any sort of means of giving someone you disagree with a bigger platform from which to speak as a way to sort of increase their reach and to facilitate them and to be kind of complacent. But from my perspective, there are a lot of people in the world who I disagree with. For me, the line is kind of financial support of charities that I don't agree with, or other institutions that I don't agree with. And I realize other people might disagree with that. If you want to disagree with me, go ahead and put it in the comments below and we can talk about it. The other thing that kind of gets me with people who express opinions I don't agree with is when they are in the text themselves, and that is something that might cause me to stop reading a book, because at that point, the author, the artist, and the art aren't separate. The author has put their opinions into the book, they're there, and I'm interacting with them directly. So at that point, if I am really uncomfortable with the author's opinions, or feel they're, saying something terrible that I disagree with, I might stop reading the book. So those are sort of my lines for authors who I personally disagree with in opinions. If someone expresses an opinion which I find particularly odious within the context of their work, then I'm likely to stop reading that. And if I know that they support financially institutions that I don't agree with, then I'm a lot less likely to pay money to the author to buy their book. The last category here is people who actually do terrible things, things that are something which could land them in prison, such as molesting children or raping someone or murdering someone, and there are authors who have done all of these things and been convicted of them, and at that point I kind of have to take it on a case-by-case basis personally. In most cases I will end up reading the work. There is something that is a big dividing line in this for me, and that is whether or not the author is still alive. I'm a lot more likely to feel uncomfortable reading a work by a terrible person who's still alive and being a terrible person than I am someone who's been dead for 100 years. And I know that it doesn't totally make sense, but it kind of makes me feel better because they can't still be being a terrible person if they're dead. I realize that's probably something that just like psychologically makes me feel better and that it's not really, you know, a very valid basis. But I do think, particularly in cases where the author has been convicted of a crime or something like that, it's definitely up to the individual reader to evaluate how you feel about that author knowing that information. And so anytime it comes up that I know something like that about an author, I will try and mention it in the videos and let people know, because I feel that people have a right to know if the author is controversial and if there's something that this author has done that you wouldn't approve of or would make you not want to read their work. I feel like we as readers have a right to know that. Those are just some of my thoughts. This video has probably gotten a little bit rambly. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about the issue of separating the author from the book or art from artist, and I will see y'all later. Bye.